Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Ferrari HP Esports series. We are back once again on iRacing, and this time around, as we tackle the Americas region, we have only 3 rounds left to bring you, including this one, through the course of this championship phase in the regional finals to decide who will be joining the others at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi, at the Grand Finals on the 5th of December. It's going to be really, really exciting. We can't wait to bring you action from this one. We're going back stateside at a stateside circuit here at Summit Point. It's a pleasure to be back as well. George Morgan here, your commentator, and joining me tonight as well, Rory Alexander. Rory, you're back. It's been a long time since we've been united.
Yeah, it's felt like that, George. How have you been, my friend? You been okay?
I've been living the dream, my good man. Living the dream.
I've been watching. I've been watching all the action that you've been commentating on, along with Nina. It's been fantastic. Yeah, but excited to be back. To be honest, excited for round 2 and the final round here at Summit Point for the Americas iRacing. So it's going to be good.
Yes, it's going to be spectacular. We've already witnessed, I think, a few upsets, along the way. And you never know, we could be on the cusp of yet another one. I mean, if you look back, this is where we pretty much started, was with this group of drivers. And obviously that was Emilia-Romagna back then. A different circuit this time around. A little bit of elevation, of course, that might differ from time to time. But it's all about Nicolas Rublar at the moment, isn't it, Rory? I mean, after going 3 in a row last time out, laying claim to pole position, he was absolutely sensational, and no doubt we can expect something largely the same, I think, from him, but you never know. In this series, we have seen the odd upset.
Yeah, it's just one snapshot, you know. The snapshot, Nicolas Rublar dominated Imola. Does that mean he's going to dominate Summit Point? We don't know if that was just his best track. We don't know if there's a Summit Point specialist out there waiting, ready to go. And, as we know, like Leandro Werner was just behind him the whole time, just because he got the jump on him pretty much in Quali, and also our friend Godoy as well. He qualified in P3 for the first race, but because of the brutal format of this, he had an issue off the start. Therefore, he was at the back for race 2, and he just couldn't get through all the carnage. So, it's going to be interesting to see tonight who comes to the fore. Some people will be consolidating, like, Rublar, but some people will be absolutely going for it tonight, and it's going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, especially those that are just outside the points as well. But nonetheless, it's going to be exciting. Format structure to take you through, folks. As a little reminder, 30 participants from hot laps and regional qualifiers made their way to rounds 1 and rounds 2, which we're currently undertaking right now. We're in the round 2 phase here in this Americas region. 3 races to bring you, with the top 5 from each region as well making their way to the Ferrari HP Esports Series 2024 Grand Finals on the 5th of December at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. The small caveat, the top 1 from AC, that's Assetto Corsa. Top 2, though, from iRacing and Assetto Corsa Competizione. So plenty on the line for these drivers, and only a small matter of a few places left to decide the final lineup ahead of the grand final at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. It's going to be very, very exciting. Can't wait to take you through it. Here is the race structure that will be taking you through tonight on iRacing. Race 1 will be decided by a qualifying session, with race 2, the grid set by race 1's result. Race 3, a little different from Assetto Corsa, will be decided by race 2's results, and that will then lead us and feed us into the final selection of drivers that will be heading through to the grand finals. Very, very exciting. Top 6 go into the grand final, 2 from each region, just to clarify as well. So there we have it. Quite a furious and imposing system that we adopt here, Rory. It really does help if you're on the ball, though it will punish you if you're a little bit lax.
Absolutely. I personally love this format. If you want to win the ultimate prize of being on the Ferrari HP Esports team, then you need to get through this brutal structure. You need to prove that you're the best of the best. And, as if that structure is not sort of harsh enough, we're at Summit Point tonight, where a notoriously difficult circuit to pass. So, yeah, people are just going to have to absolutely go for it. Pretty much everyone's going to have to go for it, unless you're P1 starting in race 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really takes no prisoners, especially with it being obviously a very short 5 format, wherever it be the races itself or indeed the structure making your way through the championship. Here are our regions. Of course, we've already raced at Asia Pacific. We've shut the door on that. We've shut the door on Europe. The final rounds we have left in regional finals action is around the Americas region. Can't wait to see this one. Obviously, drivers that have come from far and wide across the American continent. We're looking forward to seeing who's going to be the best of the best in amongst this bunch. And already, as we've already judged, we had some that came through the regional qualifiers phase that obviously ticked all the boxes. But it has to be said, at the end of the day, we've got some that have already been proven in this competition alone. Nicholas Rublar obviously setting the world alight, the Chilean, looking extremely quick. But we can't count out the likes of Peter Arindal, of course, was a regional qualifier coming through split one, was indeed the race winner in both races 1 and 2 in that top split. An avid F1 fan in motorsport and real life autocross racer. Let's take you through the calendar, where of course we will be heading. Imola, we've ticked off. It all started with this very group all the way back on the 31st of August. We've made our way right the way through. Tonight we're actually doing round 12, believe it or not. We've already closed the book on rounds 10, 11, 13, 14, 16 and 17. We've got only 3 left. Tonight's round 12. We then have round 15 coming up on October 12th, and then round 18 coming up on October the 19th. So in the next 3 weeks, we will close the book on the regional finals phase, and we will know who will be making their way to the Ferrari HP Esports Series Grand Final on the 5th of December at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. It's going to be very exciting. Can't wait for it. We'll take you through the track map as well, folks, because Summit Point, fairly unique. Of course, we've already been here twice when we factor in the likes of Assetto Corsa and Assetto Corsa Competizione, but tonight we are on iRacing. We're making our way to Jefferson County, West Virginia, 2 hours west of Washington, D.C. Summit Point with its main circuit opening up in 1970. The track itself, 1969 is when it was officially opened, but 10 turns, 3.219 kilometers, that's 2 miles in itself, and holds a very picturesque view as far as racing is concerned. A nice woodland set right in the heart, just in between Wagon Bend and Paddock Bend. But yes, 10 turns, Rory, a very short fire circuit.
Yeah, just 2 miles here. You've got 10 turns, as you just mentioned, and you mentioned the woodland. I found myself in that woodland many times, and I've also seen in other regions people making their way towards the woodland. So, yeah, it's going to be incredibly tight. It's going to be incredibly fun to watch, and it's just fascinating to sort of think and at the prospect of who is going to emerge from this pack, these 15 drivers, who is going to make it through all the thrills and spills and be victorious tonight.
Well, if you go down in the woods today, you'll be in for a big surprise, or at least some drivers might be. We'll have to wait and see. But they are currently going ahead with free practice right now, and at the current timings, it's currently showing favour of Nicholas Rublar. And once again, though, Leandro Verla currently sat second fastest in that too. Eric Leroy currently sat third fastest. Might be one to watch as they make their way through. But if we look at the 2 form protagonists, Rory, ahead of tonight, it was Nicholas Rublar who did the Triple Crown. He managed to take 3 wins back at Imola at Emilia-Romagna, and Leandro Verla finished second in all 3 as well. We saw some really decent performances from Justin Rem to finish on the podium twice after finishing third in both races 1 and 2, but also Philip Schiff, who came in at the very last moment to take 3rd place. He was knocking on the door of the podium places after laying claim to 2 4th places in both races 1 and races 2, so we're showing that really decent progression arc, and he's currently 4th fastest in free practice right now.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, any of the top 4 could end up going through tonight, I think. I think it might be a bit of a reach for Gregory Hoverson, who's on 24 points at the moment. But I think the top 4, you know, I mean, it looks simple for Rublar, doesn't it? It looks simple. Just win the next 3. You know, easy as that, right? But if it goes wrong, we're obviously using the F1 point system. So 25 points for first. So, you know, if Rublar has an issue, and it's very easy to do around here, or if Verla chucks it up the inside and puts him off or anything like that, he's right back in the fight. He'll actually be ahead of him. So it's less than a win in it, and the stakes could not be higher, to be honest. We are fighting for who is going to go to Ferrari World Yas Island in Abu Dhabi, and people are going to leave it all on the line tonight. So I think any of those top 4, who are currently at the top 4 as well in practice, as you've just mentioned, could take the spoils this evening.
Well, just to give you guys also an impression as to the difference between winning a race and finishing in second. Obviously, like I said, Rublar taking the triple after our last round back at Imola. Verla finishing second in all 3 races as well. Just the sheer points gap alone between Ps2 and Ps1 led to a gap between Verla and Rublar, who sits at the top of the championship. It's 21 points between them, Rory. So it just goes to show that every race means something, essentially leading through to this championship. And like I said before, you look at guys like Russell Reyes, who unfortunately came unstuck after being undefeated in the first round. Round 2, it didn't matter. You might as well forget about round 1 because you can still lose it all. And what a cruel time it would be for Nicholas Rublar if it was all to turn upside down here now, Rory.
Yeah, and he's had a long wait as well. So he's had a long month or so to sit there mulling over how it's going to go. I'm sure he's dreamt of, things going well. I'm sure he's dreamt of things going badly. But it's going to be interesting to see exactly how this goes this evening, because the difference could be if he dips a wheel onto the grass at turn number 1, for example, in his quali lap, it could be, curtains. He could be starting down the back and then be in real trouble. So this quali session at the start is going to be absolutely critical, not just for Rublar, but for Verla as well, because if Verla doesn't get right up the front, he could let Rublar potentially walk away with this and his dreams could be shattered.
Yeah, and after utilising the Ferrari 488 in our last event, which was with Assetto Corsa, we now move back to the Ferrari 296. Time's obviously coming across the line immediately, but we still have plenty of time left in the session. We're only 1 minute and 40 in. 7 minutes of qualifying here, Rory, and of course we mentioned this back at Imola not too long ago as well. I say that, but obviously that was when this whole regional finals phase started. Such a slim threshold to set a fast lap.
Yeah, you've got to get that. Well, I mean, what's the strategy for these guys? Do you get that banker in, or do you and then risk not getting an opportunity to absolutely go for it, or do you just go for it and potentially drop it like we saw in the background there behind Rublar? It was Ronaldo Carlos there, I think, dropping it in the background, but he's already going to be on the back foot now. So it's so critical. You've got to be on the edge here at this circuit to get everything out of it, especially with this field of drivers. They are absolutely incredible. But I tell you what, Rublar, I don't know what strategy he's going for, but he's currently not P1.
No, not at all just yet, but it might be the case he's just warming up to it. He's just gone fastest now, in fact, to 107.161. Like we said, it's a very fast lap round here. Leandro Verla going second fastest, just over the realms of 4.5 tenths of a second, not far from half a second, actually, as now we see Eric Leroy, who is also up there and dancing, but Peter Arindel, who won consecutive races in the regional qualifiers to get to the regional finals phase. He now pops up into third fastest. He needs a big round here. He was disappointed, really, I think, or left many, I would say, disappointed with his performance last time out in round 1, because we expected so much, especially where he took back-to-back wins in split 1 action as he, looked to progress here to this regional finals phase.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm just looking at here, I'm just fascinated by just the traffic here. Look how busy this track is. I mean, there's 15 cars on track, but they seem to be bunched all together. We've got this group of 3 here, and they can't be helping each other here. But then again, they've got no real time.
It's a narrow circuit.
Their times in. Yeah,
narrow
absolutely.
Circuit as well, which doesn't offer a lot of room. So you're absolutely spot on. I mean, you do need to try and find your placement out on track. And if you're stuck behind a slow driver, I mean, we see this in single-seater action time on time. Obviously, drivers looking for clean air so they can set their fastest lap. On one level, you might get a bit of slipstream, but on another level, it might hamper you at an apex of any corner. But the one fortuitous thing about this very circuit is that there's only 10 of them to make your way around. Aaron Sorkin, though, who we're currently seeing on screen right now, currently sat 14th fastest, yet to lay down a lap time, which is certainly going to go against him. Of course, he's only got a short amount of time left to set one, so needs to now. David Schmidt goes 11th fastest, as we're seeing it, so just drops in front of Tyron Roberts, his fellow countryman, and just behind Spencer Rietzma, who currently sits in 10th place. Aaron Sorkin about to come up towards the line as well, looking to enlist his first runs. A couple of drivers currently sat in the pits as well, not looking to come back out just yet. There's David Schmidt right now, 11th fastest as it stands, 3.5 seconds off the top. Still Nicholas Rublar holding all the cards at the moment, Rory, 107.161, and it's looking hard to beat because he's nearly half a second clear of Leandro Verla.
Yeah, he's looking quite comfortable there. I'll tell you what, though, Sorkin won't be looking or won't be feeling too comfortable there, as he has had 2 off tracks, which is the reason why he hadn't set a time. I mean, Rublar up front. I mean, Verla is the one under pressure here. Rublar is half a second up. Verla's got Carlos right behind him. Signoretto as well, breathing down his neck. It's going to be interesting. Just to confirm, that is going to be it. It's not a full timed quali session. It's just an outlap and 2 quick laps. So that is how they are going to finish. Nico Rublar is on pole.
Yeah, back to back as well. Obviously, achieved pole position back at Imola not too long ago to get this championship underway, but he will be joined by fellow contender Leandro Verla, both of who are going to be looking to go through to Ferrari World Yas Island Abu Dhabi on December the 5th. Here are the standings. Nicholas Rublar topping the standings right now. 21 points clear of Leandro Verla. He's on 75 at the top. Verla on 54 in second. Justin Rem in third place on 42. Philip Schiff on 39 down in fourth. Ronaldo Carlos on 26 points down in fifth, with Adam Brockway on 24 points in sixth. And then 18 points for Gregory Hovson in seventh spot, with Dylan Cole in eighth place on 10 points. That rounds out your top 8 so far. We could take you round towards the rest of them as well. That takes you down to 16 drivers. Spencer Rietzma in 9th spot on 4. He is joined, though, by Fernando Signoretto in 10th place and Tyrone Roberts on 11th spot, with Evan McKay on 2 points in 12th. Just behind him is Lucas Souza on 1 solitary point. Behind him, though, Neil Poir for Bruno Bassan and Eric Leroy, and Paolo Godoy, who will not be making an appearance here tonight. Rory's favourite driver, not here this evening. But great chance for Eric Leroy. His pace was there in free practice, Rory. Qualifying wasn't the best, but a chance for him to get his first points of the series.
Yeah, and I think there'll probably be consolidation points, to be honest, or consolation points, really, because, yeah, I mean, Rublar and Verla are up front. We're not going to see Raim tonight, and Philip Schiff has had, well, he's starting in 13th in this one, so his qualification session did not go to plan. So yeah, for me, it's the top 2 really. Can Verla get the jump? I'm just looking up at the timing screens there. Can Verla get that jump on Nico Rublar? It's going to be a tough one, because he had his number every single race at Imola, so it's going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, and Rublar is showing no signs of stopping either right now. That gap is extraordinary. I mean, obviously, given the fact that they have only got those 2 laps to set the lap, that is the iRacing procedure, as we all know, or certainly those that race on iRacing will know all about it. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's those who can perform at the most trickiest of circumstances that are going to rise to the top. The cream will rise to the top, I should say. At the moment, it looks like Nico Rublar is going to be that driver. Leandro Verla obviously has got a points buffer to those in behind. Ronaldo Carlos has also scored well in the past. Quite the Brazilian contingent in between Ps2, 3 and 4, with Fernando Signoretto also part of that. But keep your eyes peeled on Peter Arindel, who was also very good during the qualifiers phase. Didn't really show his best form back at Imola, but it could easily be changed now as we head to Summit Point. But there's many others as well to watch. Got Lucas Souza, Eric Leroy. Who's your money on, Rory?
Well, I'm going to take the boring pick, to be honest, and just go Rublar. I think he's going to do it, but it's all going to depend on the jump. It's just going to be interesting, to be honest, to see exactly what happens. I mean, Rublar looked unshakable through those first 3 races that we saw at Imola. But is that going to be the case here when he's so close to going to Ferrari World Yas Island in Abu Dhabi? That'll do a lot of things to people. It will test their bottle for sure. But we're about to find out, George. Let's see.
We certainly are, Rory. Brace yourself, everybody at home. 3 rounds remain to decide who will be heading to the Ferrari HP Esports Series Grand Final on the 5th of December. And we're just about to kick things off here in round 2. In the iRacing platform for the Americas region, it's Nicholas Rublar who takes them along. The lights will go out, and it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Great start for Rublar. Leandro Verla, though, met toe for toe by Ronaldo Carlos. Carlos now just figuring in behind. Not a bad jump there from Verla, despite the initial pace not looking so great. He remains in P2 and just watching every move that Rublar makes. Further back, Carlos with Signoretto. Lucas Souza as well ahead of Peter Arindel. Piver as well, just ahead of Eric Leroy, who was very strong in free practice. Qualifying wasn't so bad either, but he's down 1 place. But still, it's Rublar in charge. He is clear. The Chilean looking to continue his great form in a bid to make it 4 from 4, Rory.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I saw Verla. I saw him lining up. I thought he was a bit far back, to be honest, in the start. You know, you want to be right up, almost in front of the pole sitter if you're in P2, especially if you are in that position. But Verla, thankfully, somehow managed to pull it out the bag and get ahead of Carlos before turn one. That was critical for his entire championship, that move. And now he has to just follow Rubler as much as he can. He was on him a little bit. It looks like he's fallen off slightly here. He's half a second down now, but it looks like those two are starting to pull away, and Verla needs to put that pressure on.
Yeah, it looks like we've already got a car out as well. It looks like Guillaume Hamling as well is out of the session. We did have a car going off just into the gravel trap. We just saw it in the distance, so that I think might be Philip Schiff, who is not having the best of runs so far, so not a great way to start for him. But as we now watch the cars now spiral their way coming out of the hairpin section, it's still Nicholas Rubler who leads the way. Leandro Verla currently holding on to P2. Fastest lap so far in the hands of Nicholas Rubler, as you'd expect, given that we've only just started the race. You can see Philip Schiff just in the distance. He's trying to catch up. Has got quite a bit of ground to cover, though, before he can then be in reach. We've got also Aaron Sorkin looking to come into this. So whether those two have had a coming together, I'm not quite sure. But still, it's Rubler who leads the way as we mark a return to Ferrari 296 machinery. Of course, the pride in the jewel in the crown here of the Ferrari brand. Of course, a brand new car that was released back at Spa a couple of years ago and has since gone on to be represented in the world of GT racing across the globe. Of course, I moved to the 6-cylinder as opposed to the 8-cylinder engine. Rubler setting the fastest lap of the race once more. That's a 107.559. The pace is with him here, Rory.
Yeah, but that's better from Verla, though. He was Rubler's best lap was a 107.559, and Verla's just come in a 107.648. So he's not, whilst he's half a second behind, he's still half a second behind. I was expecting him to just, to be honest, begin to walk away with this one. I was worried he was going to. And now it's about six tenths of a second, but then Verla closes back up. So I'm hoping, and I think all of us at home are hoping, that Verla can really make this one a bit of a spicy affair. But Rubler certainly doesn't look like he's got it as easy as he did out at Imola.
No, not at all. Obviously, it's still going to be tricky to get your way or make your way around this track. Obviously, it's a little narrower than Imola. Imola isn't the widest, but still it does carry a little bit of width where you can go wheel to wheel. But here at Summit Point, you really do have to pick your battles and be, you know, certainly very smart with where you put your car. As you can see, that gravel trap in the distance is quite tricky as well. We've already seen a car go off in it already at the start of this race. Peter Rindle, who currently watching on screen, made it through the qualifiers phase and did a great job too. Came through out of races 1 and 2 in split 1, a victorious, I should say. Avid F1 fan and motorsport fan as well, and as I said at the top of the show, a real-life autocross racer. So it's quite nice. We get that crossover here, Rory. Obviously, some drivers that come from real-life racing, mixing it up here in the sim racing world.
Yeah, I think it does a couple of things. It shows how good, you know, sim racing has got in simulating actual racing to attract these guys, and also it just shows how good the prize is. You know, these guys don't have to do this. You know, the real life racers, they're racing in real life. But, you know, the prospect of potentially driving for the Ferrari HP Esports team is just, you know, it's enough to drag them out, or drag them in, should I say, out of their real race cars to their simulators. So it's a real testament to the product, you know, that's being put on show here.
Yeah, of course, it means a lot to everybody. I mean, even Luke Whitehead, whose name is synonymous to the world, was obviously really passionate about really nailing this competition, and one of the favourites actually you'd fathom competing in the ACC platform, and was unfortunately uprooted as well. Had every chance of qualifying. Aidan Walshingham made his way through after dominating both rounds, victorious in all of them. Luke Whitehead did incidentally take pole in their round 2, but it all came unstuck after he had to start from the pit lane after not gridding up in time, which certainly was a huge shame on his account. But no doubt we'll see him back in major competition very soon. A multitude of sim racing championships have gone his way. We're currently watching David Schmidt now under attack here from Matthew Knoll, the Canadian, now looking to well, striking in position upon the man from the United States, who sits in P10 further back. We also have Spencer Rietzma, fellow Canadian to that of Matthew Knoll as well, and they're all in tandem. The yellow car in between both the white and the red as they look to fly heading down this next stretch. It's very, very tight and twisty circuit here at Summit Point, very narrow, and as I said, a very short lap as well. But just look at how close Matthew Knoll is this time around, heading down the long straight in towards turn one. He will have a nice bout of slipstream. The question is, will he open up the door? Yes, he certainly will. Up the inside comes Matthew Knoll. Fantastic move. Pinpointed the apex, but a switch back here straight away from David Schmidt, and he's going to try and open it up now, heading in towards Wagon Bend around turn two. Who's got the bottle as they now head into the left-hander? No one touches the grass. They were so close to the green stuff, and just look at this, in all the battling that unfolded between Schmidt and Knoll. Spencer Rietzma looking to harness it now this time, takes it around the outside as they head down into the carousel. Side by side they stay, and yes, it's Rietzma who takes full advantage. He's up into P11.
Yeah, David Schmidt's going to be kicking himself for that one. I mean, for me, you know, he should have just gone to the inside there at turn number one. He would have allowed the cutback potentially through turn two, but there's no way you can hang it around turn three, as he found himself on the outside because he didn't defend. You know, this is all for one championship point. I know it doesn't seem much, but it's a lot, you know, and we've got Philip Sheaf chasing them down as well, taking a second out of this group. You can see him there on the back of the pack. You know, we saw him in the gravel trap earlier on, but he's making his way back through. And these guys are getting straight back into it. That is how you defend that. Matthew Knoll going to the inside. He's allowing the cutback there, although he did get on the power. Oh, it was a bit squirrely coming out of there. There's no way he's going around the outside, though, so he should be safe.
Yeah, really unsettled. Spencer Rietzma there ever so slightly, and David Schmidt looked like he was on to perhaps take the place he lost back, and he might yet try it again as they now head through this next right-hander. It got very tight between the three of them. Further back as well, it's opened up the door for Philip Schiff to have a look up the inside this time of David Schmidt, trying to force the gap, and he was very nearly sideways coming out of that chicane on that occasion. So now round the corner now, taking the twisty circuit once more, heading on and through. It's still Rublar, though, who's out in front. Just look at this. He's gapped now to around 1.5 seconds. Rublar has the pace here.
Yeah, at this point, he would be one clear victory ahead of Verla, which is going to be critical for him. Yeah, Verla's just got to give it all he can here. So we're going to see probably 2 by 2 coming down the straight. Let's see what goes on here. David Smith's learnt, well, he's learnt to defend a little bit, but I would argue he didn't go across enough there. I'm surprised Schiff didn't chuck it up the inside. I would have certainly done, but then again, I'm not at this level, so that may have been why I would have gone for it, and he didn't. But yeah, fascinating pack battle here for that final championship point.
Yeah, fantastic fighting as well from Spencer Rietzma. He can both attack and defend. It's just a shame now that he's 5.5 seconds away from Tyrone Roberts, and incidentally, Tyrone Roberts, oh, big crash, and that is Philip Schiff, I believe, who's lost it all there as well, and that's going to allow, obviously, Sorkin to move upwards into 13th. So Aaron Sorkin managing to gain a place off the incident involving Philip Schiff. Not an ideal place to be against the barrier. So we're licking his wound slightly, but he will be back, I'm sure, for race 2. We're now back with Peter Arindel, who's looking to try and gain on the back of Sousa in P5. I was just about to allude to Tyrone Roberts as well. We spoke about Peter Arindel being a real-life racing driver as well. Tyrone Roberts, incidentally, has driven Ferraris in the past. He actually tested the Ferrari 488, the predecessor to this 6-cylinder 296, and he tested the Ferrari 488 Challenge, incidentally, at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, a passionate racer and sim racer as well alike. So has form in a real-life context in Ferrari machinery.
Yeah, I do love that. I love that crossover. You know, we see it so often, don't we? So much crossover. You know, we were talking about Luke earlier. Luke has got some, Luke Whitehead's got some real world motor racing testing experience as well. And just a little note on him, it's devastating to see that. I mean, for a guy who did Nürburgring 24-hour alone and got on the podium, to then not manage to grid up for this, you know, for his last race is absolutely devastating. And knowing him personally, he'll be very, very upset with that for a long time to come. But yeah, a definite talent, one of the best in all of sim racing. But yeah, this is just, I mean, Rublar is just absolutely controlling this. I was concerned this may happen, and it is happening. You know, he's now 1.7-ish seconds ahead of Verla. Verla's now a second ahead of Carlos, so it looks like all set at the front there. Rubler's just got to bring it home, really, in these next 4 odd minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the Chilean has been absolutely sensational. And, I mean, we talk about iRacing as well. I mean, Nicolas Rubler carries very nearly 10K against his name. And I'm telling you now, we could be looking at a sensation that could yet take this championship by storm. Obviously looking to lay claim to yet another victory. It'll be his 4th in succession, and obviously by extension 4th podium in succession. And looking to follow in the footsteps of the likes of Aidan Walshingham, who did exactly the same in Assetto Corsa Competizione. I mean, Luke Whitehead could have held a candle to him, but due to unforeseen circumstances at this point, it's just utterly unraveled right in front of him here. But for many of these drivers that are looking to contest, obviously this will be a first LAN event. And I was chatting to Davlish Singh as well, who has LAN experience as well. Sometimes it just doesn't matter whether you have that LAN. Obviously the LAN experience may be preferable for certain drivers, but even so, when you get on a stage such as the Ferrari HP Esports series, all bets are off. It is the great equalizer. And even Davlish Singh, when I spoke to him in a post-event interview, obviously stamping his ticket to the Ferrari World Yas Island Abu Dhabi for the Grand Final on December 5th. He has competed at Indian national level, and even then he said that this is bigger. It doesn't get bigger than this in his eyes, so he's really excited as to what the Grand Final may throw at him. But it just goes to show, no matter what that experience, Rory, it's a different test when you're in a championship like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rubler's is going to be no stranger to as well, competing on Gran Turismo at the World Finals there and being very successful there. So he knows what LAN events are all about. But for these guys, or for some of them, you know, if you get there, I mean, the blinkers are on. You know, it's just you and the TVs and the monitor and your wheel and your pedals, and that's it. Nothing else really matters for these guys. They are locked in. You know, they could be on the moon, but, you know, for all some of these guys care. They are so focused. They are so locked in. Even to get to this stage here, just to get to these regional finals is incredible and takes such a level of discipline and focus and commitment. I cannot imagine what it's going to be like when we go to Ferrari World Yas Island in Abu Dhabi. It's going to be amazing. I won't be able to take my eyes off these guys. No,
they're going to be extremely tight, and we're going to have a fascinating viewpoint from, you know, platform versus platform. We're going to have the ability to watch iRacing enthusiasts take on the Assetto Corsa professionals and the ACC professionals alike, and we're going to find out not only which driver is superior across all 3 platforms, but maybe which platform that's produced this driver is the more superior in this fight. It's going to be truly fascinating to watch. But at this stage, it's Nicolas Rubler who's holding all the cards, especially here in the iRacing side of things, and we are coming down now into final minute territory very shortly. Very soon we'll cross the 14-minute mark, and into the final minute we will go, and it'll come down to Nicolas Rubler to bring the car home. The 296 that he is currently accommodating is now nearly 2 seconds ahead of Leandro Verla. Just a pure dominant performance as Peter Arindal looks to attack Sousa for that 5th place.
What is interesting though is Rubler is just consistently quick. That's the main thing for him. Actually, the best laps between them, Rubler's done a 107.419, which is the quickest lap of the race. Verla has done a 107.494, so less than 1/10. So probably about 8/100ths of a second behind him, but he just can't string it up time and time again. But what will be interesting though is, can he get the jump in race 2? Because they will be, because of course the grid for the next race is sought by the finish of this race. It'll be interesting to see if he does manage to get the jump into turn number 1, because if he does, I don't think the speed difference is there for Rubler to get back past him.
Well, we'll soon find out as time rumbles on, but the timer now has ticked to 0. So as soon as Rubler crosses the line the next time around, that will bring an end to this race, and he will be a race winner once more for the 4th time in succession. Peter Arindal still working hard to try and close down on Lucas Sousa, but if you want to put a number against it, it is 11.9, very nearly 12 seconds between P5 and P1 at this time. Arindel still giving chase on the back of Lucas Souza, who still retains P5 now as they round the next left-hander, as well as they now pirouette through this next left in towards the right once more. But there is Nicolas Rublar, who is now making his way down this next straight. The Chilean has been absolutely sensational. He'll in-swing now around Paddock Bend, make his way down the straight. It's been such a huge ascent for this young man. The Chilean strikes gold once again. A fourth win in succession. Nicolas Rublar wins here at Summit Point. Not quite the summit of this regional final just yet. Still 2 more races to go, but he is putting a good account in place, ready for qualification ahead of the Ferrari HP Esports Series Grand Final on December 5th. Second place, Leandro Verla, another grand P2 performance. That's number 4 for him, finishing in second place, with Ronaldo Carlos making it a Brazilian 2 and 3. Yet another promising result. Ronaldo Carlos finishing very strong indeed. Incidentally, that being his first podium of the season so far. So massive well done to him. But Nicolas Rublar, untouchable, Rory.
Absolute clinic he's just put on here. You know, even like Imola, pole, 3 wins. Here, pole, first win. I mean, I would not bet against him getting the next 2. I mean, Verla's going to give him a good shot, but, you know, just look at that. 100 points. Perfect, Rublar. I'm a bit speechless, to be honest. I knew he was good, but he's definitely stepped up here.
Well, he's rubber stamped it here. Let's take you through the standings post race 1 here in round 2. Nicolas Rublar has broken a century. 100 points against his name, 4 wins in succession. He's ahead of P2's Leandro Verla, who is on 72 points. Justin Rem in third on 42, a point clear of Ronaldo Carlos, who obtains his first podium finish of the regional final so far. He's on 41. Like we said, Philip Schiff down in P5, 39 points. Alan Brockway in 6th on 24. Gregory Hoveson in 7th place on 18, just 2 points clear of Fernando Signoretto in 8th place. That rounds out your top 8 so far. P's 9 for Lucas Souza in 11th, a point clear of Dylan Cole in 10th place. Peter Arindel in 11th place on 8 points, and then 2 points back are Gabriel Paiva and Tyrone Roberts. They are 12th and 13th respectively, and then a 2-point gap again to Eric Leroy, who is in 14th, ahead of Spencer Rietzma, who joins him on 4 points in 15th, and Evan McKay down in 16th on 2 points so far. So there we go, folks. Race 1 in the books. Nicolas Rublar setting a precedence once more, continuing his rampant rise here in the regional finals that shows no signs of stopping whatsoever. Wherever it's Imola or if it's Summit Point, doesn't matter. He is going to lay claim to victory once more. What have they got to do to stop this Chilean, Rory?
Well, what Verla has to do is he has to finish ahead of him to at least give him any shot. If Rublar finishes ahead of Verla, it is over. He wins, basically. He stamps his ticket as the winner of this region to Ferrari World, Yas Island and Abu Dhabi. So, you know, that's what Verla can't leave anything on the table now. He has to go for it. I'm sure he has been going for it every time, but he's really got to go for it this time if that's possible, because Nico's he's just too good right now.
He's putting in a good account, and obviously it's a great advert for the Ferrari team to obviously hopefully put something in place. I mean, obviously a young talent to watch, that's for sure. We'll have to wait and see whether he can deliver, of course, when we get into finals contention. But I think based on what we're seeing right now, he could be, I think he might have yet clambered and actually gained that place already ahead of the grand final. But we are moving into race 2 as it stands. There's still a reasonable gap there. I mean, Leandro Verla still has a points chance of getting, jumping up ahead, I think, of Nicolas Rublar, though it will take some doing. Rublar can confirm top spot in the regional finals championship phase with a win here, or maybe better, as long as he finishes better, I think, than Leandro Verla here at this point. But the car's now rumbling onwards here, and very shortly will make their way up towards the line to get this second race underway. Once more, they are bound together. Nicolas Rublar sat at the top of the tree on pole position as he was in our prior race. And remember, last result feeding into the grid ahead of race 2. They'll trickle down the straight. Leandro Verla on his outside, looking to try and pepper Nicolas Rublar for a place at the front. Once again, they put pedal to the metal. And it is go, 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 go. Great start for Nicholas Rublar. Leandro Verla a little more responsive this time off the line, and they're going to run side by side on the run in towards turn 1 at the loop. And remember, inside line for Rublar at this time, but sometimes you can get the switch back to work, and I think that's what Leandro Verla was thinking about. The Rublar was wise to it. He still leads the way, but still Verla hunting him down. The Brazilian looking to obtain P1 for the first time in regional finals phase in the Ferrari HP Esports series, with Ronaldo Carlos sat in third, still persevering, trying to gain on the back of his fellow countryman Signoretto, who finished strong in our last race. He's now in 4th place once more with Lucas Souza in P5, and it hasn't been a great start for Peter Arindel. He's down 2 places.
Yeah, status quo again. I was again worried that Verla was going to lose out to Carlos there, but he somehow managed to keep hold of it. As we have a look at Tyrone Roberts here in the mid-pack with Philip Chief here. But yeah, I mean, he's just gone out and got out in front again. It's such an advantage getting that quali right out the gate, because then you get the first, you get obviously the pole for the first race, you get the inside for the first corner, and if you can come out of T1 in first place here, well, it's a mighty, mighty thing for the car behind to try and overturn you.
Certainly is that. Nicholas Rublar in a grand position once again. Verla still, though, in touching distance, needs to try and retain at least some slipstream. Perhaps then he can challenge down the home straight. Tyrone Roberts, who we're currently seeing on screen, trying to gain on the back of Philip Schiff, who had a very uncomfortable run last time out, though Philip Schiff, having a great start, actually has gained the most places since the very beginning of this race. He's 2 places up. Remember, starting P12, he's now up to 10th and in the points, which will serve him well to end this competition. Obviously, they're racing for pride here at this case. Obviously, Nicholas Rublar too far ahead in the distance, and Lucas Verla not too far away from being well and truly in the distance either himself. And both of them up at the front, clearing Ronaldo Carlos, with Carlos now a whole second in behind Verla.
Yeah, I mean, having a look at Philip Chief here, he's got 6,000 as we look at Tyrone Roberts here. Is he making a move on Philip Chief here?
Looks like it.
Wow, okay. So Philip Chief, as we come down into turn number 1, let's see if he can make it stick. Is Philip Chief going to try and hold it around the outside? He's going to try to. But Tyrone Roberts is going to, well, he's not going to get it done. So this is what we should have seen in the last race from David Schmidt, actually it was. That is how you defend that corner. You know, there's just absolutely no chance for Tyrone Roberts to go round the outside there. Good job by Philip Chief, but as he should do, he's got 6,000 iRating. He's the 3rd highest iRated driver on this grid. You've got Nico Rublar with almost 10,000, Leandro Verla with 6,800, and then it's Philip Chief. So he is so far out of position, I expect to see him rise through the field.
Yeah, you would expect so. Lucas Souza as well. Signoretto, I think, has had a moment. And speaking of having a moment, so is Tyrone Roberts. There is Signoretto's blue Ferrari that's also gone round as well. So a string of incidents there. I mean, both of them were unconnected as well. They weren't connected in any way to each other, but a big moment nonetheless. David Schmidt, by extension, now up into P10 and trying to close up on Spencer Rietzma as they look to now fly in towards the next right. But in fact, Signoretto has got a bit of a mountain to climb here. We're now watching David Schmidt make his way around this next right-hander. It's all very tight between them. I'm trying to place this this battle right now, but Rietzma in 9th place, seeing him in the red Ferrari, even with Signoretto trying to gain on the back of him as we now watch them cruise down the hill in towards the next right-hander. Matthew Knoll as well at the head of this trio as they look to squabble, heading out of the left-hander, heading through the S's section, then into Carousel, and then they'll make their way out of the S's and then down the straight towards Paddock Bend. There you can see the string of cars in front of them here. Spencer Rietzma doing his damnedest to try and take down Matthew Knoll, who has got 2.5 seconds to find on Peter Arindel in 7th place. Still the status quo remains between this trio. Tyrone Roberts in the pits. Looks like he might be carrying some damage. If not that, they may be coming in to retire from this particular race. But a very messy run from these 3 cars as they now take the long straight. Spencer Rietzma now challenging Matthew Knoll. He will have the inside on the run in to the next right-hander, and he's bringing in along David Schmidt for the ride as they tackle turn 1 this time, and both of them go through. Oh, and Schmidt Contact with Matthew Knoll, and he uprights the fellow 296, and around goes Schmidt off into obscurity.
Yeah, not ideal for Schmidt there. I mean, I was rooting for Matthew Knoll there. He's only got 14, I say only, but he's only got 1,500 iRating. And you've got Spencer, who's coming down, bearing down on him with 4,000 iRating. And David Schmidt's got 2,500. So that puts into context, how much quicker these other drivers are on paper than Matthew Knoll. But it was just unfortunate that David Schmidt had the issue that he had. It looks like there was just a bit of, contact coming out, and round he went, and his day really just goes from bad to worse. But yeah, I'm just looking up front. Rublar, he's sort of just controlling this again, 1 second ahead of Verla. Carlos isn't as close as he was before. They're definitely about half a second ahead of everyone else per lap at this point, or certainly on that last lap. Then you've got Souza, Pavia and Leroy taking out the top 6. So, yeah, status quo up front, George.
Yeah, string of personal bests as well for P's 4, 5, 6 and 7. That's Souza, Paiva, Leroy and Arindel. All of them setting early 1:08 times. But at the top of the tree, they're hard-pressed to catch Nicholas Rublar, whose personal best, his best lap was a 1:07.315 that was set earlier on in the race. And his last lap wasn't too far off that either. It was a 1:07.391, just lapping consistently in the early 1:07s, Rory, against those that are in the early 1:08s. Just like a class above, really, isn't he?
Yeah, the only one who's close to him is Verla. As I said in the last race, Verla's best time is less than a 10th off Nico's. But, he just can't keep up with it lap after lap after lap like Nico can. He's just absolute class.
Absolutely outrageous. Obviously, folks, we do have the ability to look back at some of the incidents, and we're going to have a look at some of the crashes that we just witnessed. Now, this one, of course, was I would say the catalyst for many of them. This is Fernando Signoretto. He caught him just offshoot. He went a little bit wide, very nearly ventured into that woodland. A little bit of contact there as well down the inside, but eventually managed to find the escape road. This is what happened just behind it as well. Of course, we witnessed the battles unfold, and it was the 26 of Tyrone Roberts who caught up with the yellow 296. I think that was Aaron Sorkin who he managed to make contact with in behind. And we also have this little moment as well between the 26 Ferrari 296. That incidentally is Tyrone Roberts, who went barreling into the barrier. Another replay here as well after this squabble heading in towards turn 1, and that's the 16 and the 23. I think also David Schmidt involved in this one as well. And yes, that in fact was David Schmidt, just getting it slightly wrong. He tried to make the overtake happen through turn 1, and not only did the incident come along, but also then finding that the tyres lit up underneath him. Wasn't able to find the grip and therefore spun around instantly, Rory.
Yeah, I don't know who dropped that banana skin there around that corner, but it caused all sorts of chaos there around the back of the circuit, approaching turn number 10. And also, what happened at turn number 10? I do not know what happened there between Tyrone Roberts and I can't remember who else it was, but that was quite a big impact there. And there was a black Ferrari going around with no bonnet. So that was that's some evidence that something has gone on there. But yeah, all the action at the moment as Nico just completely dominates and controls this race and is wingmanned by Verla. All the action just seems to be in the mid-pack. These guys now not too much to race for, as you say, other than pride. But yeah, it's been entertaining to watch back there.
It certainly has. Might have been a banana skin, or it could have been a tortoise shell. We're not quite sure just yet. But we're just watching Peter Arindel make his way around in 7th place, trying to gain on the back of Eric Leroy as they look to squabble over 6 spots. Still, though, a lot to do in order to gain on Leandro Verla and Nicholas Rublar, both of whom are still setting 1:07s. It was a 1:07.627 from Nicholas Rublar in that last lap, 1:07.723 for Leandro Verla, as now the others all start to cross the line, and that is 1:08s that they're starting to enlist. So a clear gap between those at the front and those further behind. Ronaldo Carlos not doing a bad job either. His best lap was a 1:07.601, so does have the pace underneath him to certainly challenge, but unfortunately I don't think he's going to have enough in the locker to be able to raise the stakes for a chance at a place in the Ferrari HP Esports Series Grand Final when we head to Abu Dhabi. Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi on the 5th of December. Peter Arindel, though, looking to fly now through the next right-hander, still chasing after Eric Leroy. As we mentioned, Arindel's prior experience as a real-life racing driver, taking part in autocross. No doubt trying to use a combination of that and also his abilities behind the wheel of a sim rig. Trying to battle against Eric Leroy. The man from the United States now is trying to close up on the back of fellow statesman Gabriel Paiva. Now once more 107 territory for Nicholas Rublar. Verla lapping outside the 108s this time for the first time so far in this race.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating as well. I'm just looking at the time board here. We've got Fernando Signoretto holding on tight against Philip Schiff here for the final points position. Now, Fernando's gone down. Oh, there we go. There's the move there just being done. I've just seen. Oh, no, he's come back. So something's going on there. There we go. We've come through. Thank you, Mr. Producer. Oh! Just in time. Seen that before today, haven't we, George?
Yeah, we also saw Fernando Signoretto do that earlier on too. Not quite the same. Obviously ventured off track by his own volition earlier on. We got another fight though happening further up as we now see the two white Ferrari 296s come together with Peter Arindal just sat in behind. This is between Sousa and Gabriel Paiva as they look to fight it out over fourth place. And now in behind as well, Eric Leroy looking to perhaps take advantage as well. Paiva's come a little bit disconnected, a little moment between he and Sousa. Probably not the best place to make that move happen. The momentum was kind of cut off from him at that point. So it's left him now 7.5 tenths behind Sousa.
Yeah, you've got to think about these things. The only real place you can overtake someone is turn number one here. I mean, I don't know many other people who can make any positions up anywhere else. So, yeah, you've just got to think about that. I mean, no, you're not going to make the move down there. So all you're going to do is you're going to lose momentum, as you say, and you're going to put yourself behind. But they are catching back up, though. I wonder if he's learnt from that and he's not going to go for it again. It's going to be interesting to see if he goes for a different tact next time around because, well, if he catches him at all, because he's got two other cars breathing down his neck now, mainly through his own fault.
And that loss of momentum could prove to be doubly punishing, especially when you have two drivers in behind that are eager to make places of their own as they now make their way around again. It looks like it's the end of play here for Fernando Signoretto, who immediately comes straight back into the pits. It's been a miserable race too for him so far and is well off the pace. Tyrone Roberts also a lap down. As it stands, obviously, he's had his own fair share of issues as well. Aaron Sorkin, who had a rough race one, he's having a rough race two once again. Leandro Verla lapping in the 107.7 territories once more, but still Nicholas Rublar still in charge and in front. But I think Verla will take solace in knowing that he's not too far away this time.
Yeah, I mean, he's closer than he was at Imola, but, you know, it's a shorter track than Imola. So, you know, he's very, very close to him, yes, but it's a much shorter circuit. And we don't know what Rublar's doing. Is he doing, like I said earlier, you know, is he just consolidating his lead? Is he just doing what he needs to? Because he can pull it out the bag when he needs to consistently, which would suggest to me that he's not pushing as hard as he can. We're seeing a bigger discrepancy with Verla's fastest lap to his normal lap. So sometimes I just think he's just absolutely going for it. While Verla is just on, Nico's just on like an even keel and he's just pumping in laps that he's comfortable with that just happen to be quicker than everybody else's best.
He's definitely making a good account for himself right now. 1.6 seconds clear now of Leandro Verla in a quest to take yet another victory. And that will be victory number 5. Making it a haul of points of 125, closing this one, breaking that century, as I said, and then some. Philip Schiff once more on the attack, trying to gain on the back of Matthew Knoll as they look to squabble. The two yellow Ferrari 296s now burst down the straight and will then make their way in towards the next right-hander together in tandem. They'll go, contact, front right to rear left. And Matthew Knoll off into the grass. Once more, we see a victim at turn 1 here around Summit Point.
Yeah, I've never seen so many issues there, to be honest, in that fashion where the outside car spins the inside car. It's very, very strange. I don't know what's going on. And to be honest, there was a difference of, I know I'm hot on the iRating here, but just for context for everyone watching, there was a 4,500 iRating difference between those two drivers. Philip Schiff with 6K and Matthew Knoll with 1.5K. So I think it was a foregone conclusion. It's very, very unfortunate, though, that Matthew Knoll ends up facing the wrong way, heading towards the bushes down at turn number 1.
Well, at the close of this race, as we now tick down the final seconds, Nicolas Roublar in charge as the checkered flag now comes out, but we'll wait for Roublar to cross the line. First and foremost, it has been a truly excellent performance once more here in race 2 as we watch Peter Arindal still chasing after Eric Leroy after 6th place here. It's still a gap though between Leroy and Gabriel Paiva, and Lucas Souza, who sits in 4th. He's 5.5 seconds off Carlos, who sits in 3rd. But Nicolas Roublar has been utterly sensational again with this victory, crossing the start-finish line. It will place him on 125 points, and it will secure his place at the top of the Regional Finals Championship here in the Americas region as he now ventures around the final corner. Whoa. Coming out of Paddock Bend. It's victory once again here for Nicolas Roublar, and didn't he just do it in style? Leandro Verla coming home in 2nd place, just 1.7 to 1.8 in behind, makes it a 4th, or should I say 5th consecutive 2nd place finish. He makes it to 90 points now in total so far, with also crossing the line Ronaldo Carlos. Once again, it's the same trio at the top of the timing screen for the 2nd time in succession.
Absolutely incredible from Roublar here. It's remaining perfect. It's just I think it's one of the classiest performances I've seen in some time, and I've seen some esports stuff recently, and I think this has been the biggest domination that I've seen in recent times, to be honest with you. And even if by some miracle Roublar doesn't end up on the Ferrari HP Esports team, he's putting up a pretty good advert, and he's putting some pretty good racing up on tape for others who are going to no doubt be knocking on his door. He is showing what a class driver he really is.
I dare say he will be, I'm sure, the apple of any team's eye. But first and foremost, I'm sure that Roublar is chasing the one position that he's looking for, which is obviously to become part of the Ferrari HP Esports team. Here is the current look at the standings, and confirming those numbers that I pointed out just now. 125 points for Nicolas Roublar. Not only has he broken a century, he's now made it 125. He could yet make it 150 come the end of play here tonight. Leandro Verla in 2nd place on 90 points. Ronaldo Carlos in 3rd on 56. He's ahead of Justin Rem on 42 in 4th place. A point back is Philip Schiff in 5th place, just ahead of Adam Brockway, who's on 24 in 6th place. Lucas Souza in 23-point territory in 7th spot, with Gregory Hovson in 8th place with 18 points. That rounds out your top 8 so far here in the championship. Will take you down as well to P's 9 downwards as well alike. Obviously, it's a very close battle in the midfield pack. Fernando Signoretto on 16 points. He's joined by Gabriel Paiva on the same number. He's in 10th. Peter Arindal in 11th place on 14, with Eric Leroy in 12th on 12. And then we have Dylan Cole in 13th on 10. Spencer Rietzma in 14th on 8, with Tyron Roberts in 15th on 6. Of course, he had a very difficult race. Matthew Knoll also fighting out there, finishing currently 16th spot in our championship with 2 points against his name. But it truly has been an unbelievable fight. 2 races down so far tonight here in round 2 at Summit Point. We're about to hit the summit now with our final race of this evening. At the moment, it looks like it's not going to go anywhere else but Nicolas Roublar at this stage. What a true professional, what an icon here in this region, and also looking to match exactly what Will Chadwick did on iRacing, but from the European region, and we could yet see it done twice here on this platform.
Yeah, and I think, he's booked his ticket, but now he's playing the psychological game here. Like you said, Will had a clean sweep. He'll be trying to send a message to Will, and Will be watching this, I guarantee you, to see what his competition is. And then you've got people on the other platforms, like Aiden, for example, will be watching this to see, right, how am I going to compete with this on iRacing? Because it's like mixed martial artists, isn't it? You've got whoever has the weakest weakness is going to fail in Ferrari World Yas Island in Abu Dhabi. So everybody has to be aware of everybody's strengths, everybody's weakness, and I love the fact that they've got to go across all platforms. So truly, the best driver will win.
Truly will. And obviously, but not forgetting Aidan Walshingham, like you so rightly say, Rory, also managing to do the clean sweep at this stage. So phenomenal to see these drivers all converging in the same place. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to find out who the best of the best is going to truly be when we head to Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. I personally can't wait. Also, we've got to give testaments to Leandro Verla. Whilst obviously it's not victory, successive P2s is still quite the achievement.
Yeah, it's no shame coming P2. You know, he's beaten a lot of good drivers there to get to P2, and he's driven pretty, you know, if it wasn't for Nico, we'd be saying how dominant Verla is. So, you know, absolute respect to Verla as well. Let's see if this time he can finally put one on Nico Rubelar and bring home the win.
Well, both of them are currently sat comfortable at this stage, both of whom look set to head to Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi, and both of whom are set to get us underway on the front row here ahead of our final race of the evening here in round 2. Will it be a triple dream once again for the second time in succession with Nicolas Rubelar? The green flag comes out and it's pedal to the metal and it's go, 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 go. And this time Leandro Verla, he gets better with every start. He's now alongside this time of Nicolas Rubelar, and he's going to take the outside of turn 1 here with a bid while looking to place his 296 on the top. But for now, it's going to go amiss because here comes Nicolas Rubelar, who retakes the lead back away from Leandro Verla. He held it for a brief time, but the Chilean denied him. He leads the way at the very start. Further back, it's Ronaldo Carlos back in his favoured P3 spot with Lucas Souza also back in P4. What a start, Rory.
That was the closest. Well, it was the closest I thought that he was going to lose P2 there at the start. He was so far back. And Carlos was so close to Rubelar. I thought he was going to lose it off the line. But then he absolutely sent it round the outside at turn 1. I was secretly thinking to myself, go on, son, hang it in there. But he just couldn't get the overlap into turn 3. Rubelar swept through. And yeah, here we go again.
We just witnessed the ruthlessness of Nicolas Rubelar, not content with even giving any opponent a respite. Big incident further back as well. We just saw a yellow car drifting off the circuit. We've already got 2 casualties in the pits as well. It's at the moment Aaron Sorkin, Tyron Roberts, I think they've retired. I think they're out of the race. David Schmidt just putting in a decent sector as well. Lots of battling further back. We saw Peter Arindel and Phil Schiff squabbling earlier on. It looks like Arindel's come out on top in that fight, and in between them is Signoretto. That's Fernando Signoretto in the blue livery, trying to keep Schiff at bay. And just look at Spencer Rietzma, who's also looking for big points this time around as well.
Yeah, I mean, Philip Schiff's doing a Godoy from round 1. He's just had a nightmare in the first qualification session, and then it's just set him up for an absolute nightmare rest of his races, because he's been in the trenches, he's just been in the pack, trying to fight his way through. Firstly, you know, we saw Godoy trying to do it at Imola, which is particularly difficult. And then you've got Philip Schiff trying to do it here at Summit Point. So, yeah, I mean, it just goes to show how important it is to get that quali right, because this format is just so brutal. And then everybody just has to absolutely go for it, which is why we're seeing cars facing the wrong way, facing into the forest, all sorts of stuff, because they've just got to go for it.
Well, a sea of personal bests. They cross the line once more, but it's the 107.294 in the last lap for Nicolas Rubelar that takes the fastest lap of the race so far. 2 minutes and 40 already consumed in this session. Remember, it's a 15-minute race, as always, here in race 3 as well. As we watch Philip Schiff once more trying to close on the back of Fernando Signoretto. Not afraid to go wheel to wheel is Philip Schiff, and will have no qualms about doing it again, this time on Fernando Signoretto. Matthew Knoll in the pits. Tyron Roberts looks like he's making his way back out on track as well, but they are a lap down at the moment, Tyron Roberts, as well as Aaron Sorkin, who also has a lot of work to do. Matthew Knoll coming out of the pits, David Schmidt in front of him, but obviously with Matthew Knoll losing so much time in that pit phase, he obviously is going to be at a major disadvantage, very nearly a whole lap down here at this stage, and joining Tyron Roberts and Aaron Sorkin as a lap down as well.
Yeah, but consider it, you know, I think it's a smart play, you know, not giving up. That's the only way you can guarantee getting absolutely nothing from this race, is if you give up. And I admire him for going back out, because what's going to happen here is there's so many people crashing and having issues that, you know, he may get a shot here. But let's see what happened.
Well, we can see here the 16 of Spencer Rietsma just on the outside. He actually got pushed off as well, but somehow saved it. Just look at the damage visible on the front of the yellow Ferrari 296. And unfortunately, that meant that they had to take a detour into the pits. Tyrone Roberts setting a personal best on his return out on track, as well as does Aaron Sorkin. But yeah, just a small view of the carnage that we witnessed right at the very start of the race. Certainly was dramatic, wasn't it, folks? It's still, though, Nicholas Rublar who holds all the cards out in front, as he has done so all night long, and as he has done so in 2 rounds in succession. He's now a second clear of Leandro Verla already, and we're only 4.5 minutes into this final race. Lap 4 we are currently on as well, with Ronaldo Carlos down in 3rd, and he's a whole second behind Leandro Verla, his fellow countryman from Brazil, as they now make their way around once more. Rublar crossing the timing line, lap 5 now underway, and currently registering really fast laps still. 107.331 against his name. Not quite as fast as the 107.159 that he did earlier on, but still fast nonetheless.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if he can get into the 106s. That'll be quite something. His best, as you say, is a 107.159. So he hasn't got too much time to find, but it's a very, very short lap here. So that's quite a lot in those terms. But I'm just thinking here about Verla. You know, he had a real opportunity there to send a psychological message to Rublar, because now that they're both qualified, nothing else matters now. It's almost like there's a reset, because Verla has to, if he's going to get the ultimate prize, he has to get past Nico Rublar first, and he really has to show that he can take it to him. And at this point, while his performances have been admirable, they have not been good enough to top Nico Rublar. So there was a real opportunity there. I personally would have liked to have seen him absolutely leave it in, just to even send a message, even if they both end up in the barriers, that I'm here to fight. But yeah, I was surprised to see that, and hoped he was going to leave it in.
Yeah, well, we were all hoping he would as well. Philip Schiff, once again, a little look down the inside, this time on Fernando Signoretto as they head around the right-hander. Still a little gap between Signoretto and Peter Arindal. Does leave Signoretto slightly exposed. Obviously won't have the benefits of slipstream heading down the long straight in towards turn 1, but obviously will have the width of the circuit at his disposal. Just needs to make sure that he uses that car as a shield. But obviously have to be a little bit cautious, because he has had moments where he has spiraled off track already through the course of tonight, as they now make their way through Carousel at turn 7, and then make their way around turn 8 as well through the S's, before then heading down the straight, or semi-straight of sorts. There is a couple of kinks in the course, but heading down into Paddock Bend, where they will then make their way across the line once more. Still Nicholas Rublar in front and in charge as it stands, 1.1 to the good, at least for now. Ronaldo Carlos further back from him, also extending, or his gap's being extended between Carlos and Verla. It's now 1.41 as it stands. We now watch Phil Schiff once more trying to gain on the back of Fernando Signoretto, as they now sprint down through towards turn 1 yet again. This time, though, Signoretto holding firm. Eric Leroy as well, having another good race. Remember, 4th place in our previous run, I think, and now currently sat P5, but 1 place up on where he started. Obviously would have started P6 coming into this race. Gabriel Paiva losing a place due to Eric Leroy, but both of whom are still manacled at the hip right now. And what I will say is that Lucas Souza's place in P4 isn't necessarily safe. Despite him starting there and holding position, doesn't mean to say that Eric Leroy can't pass him at this time of asking.
No, and also I think Paiva has got the quickest lap out of all of them over the last couple of laps. So if he can get past Leroy, I know you mentioned that Leroy might be on Souza, but if Paiva can get past Leroy, then, or back past Leroy, then he'll be on Souza's back as well. So it's all so close here. But I tell you what, I reckon Philip Schiff would have left it in on Rublar to send a message. It just seems you get to know these drivers, and you get to know who's aggressive and who isn't. Philip Schiff, for me, I don't know if I want to go side by side with him into turn number 3 there. He'd definitely leave it in. What do you think, George?
Well, I mean, you've got to, I think sometimes when the status quo is maintained, you've got to do something a little different to upset the apple cart. And I think generally that's probably what Leandro Verla probably should have done here at the start of this race. He had nothing to lose here at this point, really. I mean, obviously his place is pretty much confirmed. Probably didn't want to risk too much. He knows he's going through regardless. Even if he finishes in P2, he's still sitting pretty and looking set for qualification. ahead of our trip to Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi on December 5th for the grand final of the Ferrari HP Esports Series. We hope you've all enjoyed the show here so far tonight. It certainly has been a thrill ride around the Summit Point circuit. We're about to hit the Summit Point now here in our regional finals phase. Obviously, like we said, coming into this round, 3 rounds remaining in the Americas. After this, we will have 2 left, and they'll be fielded in Assetto Corsa and also Assetto Corsa Competizione. But it's been quite the trip as we now watch Philip Schiff once more gaining on the back of Fernando Signoretto. Will have a chance, you'd fathom, heading in towards turn 1. Now, obviously, we have seen the outside line work from time to time, and that's exactly what Phil Schiff's going to do as he goes side by side here with Signoretto. He's going to try and hold on to it, but great defensive effort here. But again, we see it as now Signoretto gets tagged. It was front left, I think it was front right, sorry, to rear left this time around as well, just sending him round. Signoretto back in the pits. Once more we see it around the first corner at turn 1 at the loop, Rory.
Yeah, I mean, it looked bad from where we were, but we'll have to see a replay, I don't know, from up top or something to see exactly what happened there before we make any assumptions. But it has been odd how many times that has happened in this one. I mean, that's one of the overtaking moves that you can do here at turn number 1. You know, if you send it down the outside, you've got the over, you can go around the outside at turn 2, giving you the inside for turn 3. But I don't think anyone's managed to pull it off because someone has ended up in the grass every single time. And there's another example of it.
Well, I tell you what, Signoretto has more knowledge about grass than your local garden centre. He has been there enough times already this evening, and it's just taken another detour in there once more. Obviously, he's going to be feeling a little sore with that one. Looked like the move was on as well, though. You've got to give Philip Schiff a little bit of credit. He went for it. Signoretto, though, losing place after place. He sits in the pits, looking set to try and at least reignite his race, at least to a degree. But it's been a very sore ending, you'd fathom, and currently waiting to come back out. But Matthew Knoll and Tyrone Roberts have both jumped him, which suggests that even if he was to go out, he will be a lap down. And we are coming down now to the final 4 minutes of racing. Nicholas Rubler maintaining the same gap near enough from last time, 1.7 once again between he and Leandro Verla. Look at Peter Arindel, who's also on the tack of Gabriel Paiva as they look to fight it out over 6th place as it stands. Rubler's just crossed the timing line again and has actually gone 5/10 quicker than Verla in the last lap. That is absolutely extraordinary on part of Nicholas Rubler, still registering those really fast runs, still not content with first place, just wants to keep gapping and maybe just make a point. I think send a message to the likes of Will Chadwick and also the likes of Aidan Walshingham, to name a few. Bear in mind, we're going to have such a hefty grid made up of great drivers that have successfully made it through the regional finals phase. And let's be honest, you need to be a great driver to get through this phase. Imagine what sort of a driver you're going to be after getting up against those lot in a LAN environment, Rory. Yeah,
it's going to be fascinating, you know. I mean, but you can make assumptions about drivers. I think this is where we're going to go back to that Leandro Verla point. You know, I potentially would have kamikazed that and just absolutely just left it in, because then at least you may, in the back of Nico Rubler's mind, you think, this guy's a bit of a live wire. Maybe I won't go side by side with him if we come through this, you know, if we end up in this situation again, he might back out of it. But now he knows next time that Verla's not going to leave it in. That even with nothing to, you know, even with nothing on the line, with nothing to lose, he's not going to go for that move. So he's going to be more of a conservative driver. And Nico's not going to be anyone, you know, as you say, you know, being aware of that. You know, Will Chadwick's going to be aware of it. Aidan's going to be aware of it. All the other guys all the other drivers, who are going to end up in Ferrari World Yas Island in Abu Dhabi are all going to be paying really, really close attention to how everyone's behaved, because they can then form like a view of them. They won't know them because they've been in other games and other sims. So, you know, they'll have limited knowledge of each other. So everything they put on tape here is going to end up how they're going to make their assumptions when we get to the finals.
Yeah, it's almost Roy Keaneism comes to motorsport, I suppose, in many ways. You know, how hard do you go in on an overtake? That is the big question that many of these drivers will be asking. But obviously, it's to send a clear message, maybe just to upset the balance, I think. And maybe just spring a little bit of doubt in the mindset, especially when you've got someone so consistent, taking race win after win, like we've seen Nicholas Rubler doing. But Rubler doing a great job again, registering still 1:07s and continuing to do so, despite probably the tyres starting to go off slightly, because we're looking at Leandro Verla's time. He's not setting 1:07s, he's doing early 1:08s. Which actually places him 0.3 slower than Nicholas Rublar at this point. So the fact that Rublar is still lapping the way he is, obviously by the looks of everyone else, setting slower laps, probably contesting with that tyre life, Rublar is having no such issue.
Yeah, and also, you know, we've had, I don't want to say it's been easy for Rublar, but he hasn't had any turbulence. He hasn't had any challenge. He's been at the front, he's led from the front every single time. So again, you know, if Verla was to get ahead of him, we'd maybe see what Nico is made of in a different situation. So that's why it was super important for me to Verla to get ahead, because then you can see what Nico's made of when he has to go on the attack. You know, is he as good behind someone as he is, you know, out front? Like the old adage in Formula One, you know, it's all easy to lead from the front, but if you're trying to chase someone down, can you get the job done? So yeah, it's something we have to wait to find out when we get to Ferrari World Yas Island in Abu Dhabi. But it'll be interesting to see how he does behave and how he does react, George, when he has to make a move.
Well, the checkered flag has indeed come out, and Philipp Schiff now on the attack of Spencer Rietsma in his very last time of asking as they come out of turn one. But it'll all be Nicholas Rublar who will take us through the final moments here in this race. Once again, a dominant performance on display by the Chilean. 2.5 seconds clear of Leandro Verla at the top of the shot, but those two have been so consistent, it's unreal. There is the Chilean right now, Nicholas Rublar, sending a message, a clear account of his capabilities here so far in the regional finals. Not only is he one time a race winner, he went 2 times tonight. He's going to make it 3 times again here this time at Summit Point. He hits the summit of the 150 points here in the regional finals and will stamp his ticket with authority, heading to Ferrari World Yas Island Abu Dhabi for the grand final of the Ferrari HP Esports Series ahead of fellow qualifier Leandro Verla, who was also frighteningly consistent here tonight, finishing ahead of fellow Brazilian Ronaldo Carlos. But what a performance from the undeniable Nicholas Rublar, the Chilean on top once more, and will top the final standings.
Absolutely incredible. Perfect. Again, you know, that's the only real superlative you can say. He's just been perfect the whole time. 6 races, 2 quali sessions. He's just been spot on. There's the only question mark for me is what is he going to be like when he's up against it and he's not leading from the front. But yeah, you know, from what we've seen so far, you know, it's gonna be interesting to see if anyone can get in front of him, especially on iRacing. He has been incredible.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the final standings. Only 2 drivers broke a century, and it's the 2 drivers that are going to be heading to Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. Nicholas Rublar makes it a triple dream here again tonight for the 2nd time in succession. 6 wins in 6. 150 points, tops the shop. Leandro Verla 2nd in the standings, 108 points, with Ronaldo Carlos in 3rd place on 71. Philipp Schiff in 4th place on 43, with Justin Rem a point behind him in 5th spot, with Lucas Souza on 35 in 6th place. Adam Brockway joint on 24 points, along with Gabriel Paiva, who sits in 8th place. That rounds out the top 8 in the championship. Takes us down to P9 as well, with Eric Leroy on 22, 2 points behind him. Peter Arindel in 10th place. Gregory Hofson in 18th point territory with 11th place against his name. Fernando Signoretto in 12th place on 16 points, to Spencer Rietsma in 13th on 12 points. Dylan Cole in 14th on 10 points, with Tyron Roberts in 15th on 6. Matthew Knoll in 16th on 2. So that rounds out your Americas region on iRacing. That's the standings confirmed here this time around, and no stopping Nicholas Rublar. What a performance here, joining the likes of Will Chadwick and Aidan Walshingham. Obviously, as one of the drivers that we've got to keep an eye on, making our way through the campaign as well. And credit to Leandro Verla. We will say it until we're blue in the face, Rory. Obviously, whilst it's not a win at all through the course of the regional finals phase, still frighteningly consistent.
Yeah, he's held an incredible account of himself. You know, he's just been overshadowed by Nicholas Rublar, but that's That's okay, but he's only been overshadowed by Nicholas Rublar at these 2 tracks. You know, there's plenty of other tracks out there that he's got an opportunity to shine on. We don't know how versatile he is. You know, he could be great. You know, he could have a real passion for ACC or Assetto Corsa. Who knows? You know, we know what Nicholas Rublar's other passion is or was, which was Gran Turismo. But how does he fare on ACC and AC? It's going to be absolutely fascinating to find out.
Yeah, it will be fascinating, and obviously we'll have to see whether they can pan out as top contenders when we do head to the grand final on December 5th. I think there'll be a few drivers that obviously feel a little bit sore, Rory. Obviously, a couple of names. Peter Arindal, I think we probably could have expected a little bit more from. I think especially after what he did in the regional qualifiers phase, after winning both races in split one back-to-back. Do you think perhaps it was a case that he just struggled in this final phase?
Yeah, I think plenty of them did. To be honest, I think the pressure probably just got to a few of the guys. You know, Philip Sheaf as well has been in the wars today. You know, a couple of guys who we didn't even see. You know, they fell at the first hurdle. You know, they had a rough outing at Imola and tapped out. They were like, no thanks, which is really surprising to me because they would have worked so hard to even qualify for this. You know, and it maybe just Rublar and Verla were just sending too much of a message that they thought, nah, we can't even compete with this. I'll have my Saturday night back to myself.
Well, I tell you who didn't tap out, the audience at home. Thank each and every single one of you for tuning in. Be sure, if you haven't done so already, to check out all the Ferrari Esports socials. Stay up to date with the Ferrari HP Esports series. Leave a like and subscribe if you've tuned in on YouTube. If you've tuned in on Twitch, leave a follow. But from me, George Morgan, and Rory Alexandra, we'll see you back on the 12th for more Ferrari HP Esports action. Good night.